All right. Well, welcome everybody to MVP Office Hours on the first Friday of the month, kicking off March. My name is Jared Kingston. I am the Director of Solution Engineering and Salesforce MVP with Seven Summits. Also, helping me run these office hours are Jackie Trevieso at Jackie Force and Dale Ziegler at DZeeg 11, as I'll call it. They are not with us today, so wish them the best and appreciate their support. If you haven't been on the office hours, we like to kick off each office hours by just covering some of the events that are coming up. There's a lot of events by Salesforce that are coming up. Specifically, we're just about to get into another world tour season, so several world tours going on here soon. I know I'll be at a few of those. I know there's DC and Boston and New York, along with a couple others that I'm failing to mention. So definitely encourage you, if those are in your cities, to go. They're free events and a lot of great content there. Also, there's a lot of great community-led events going on. Pete will be at the Toronto World Tour. That would be an awesome one to go to. There's a lot of good Dreaming events coming up, and these are community-led events. They do cost, but they are, like I said, purely community-led. There will be Salesforce people there, usually doing some sort of speaking, but these are great sessions, great opportunities to network with other people. As you can see there, they're all over the place, right? I mean, down in Atlanta, we got Snowforce coming up. We've got, UK, Canada, Netherlands, Chicago, Portland, all over the place. So definitely check those out. Great sessions. Also, highly recommend for those that are still open for sessions. If you've got something you're passionate about that you want to share with other people, go and submit those sessions to them. You will get normally you get a free pass with those. And it's just a great way to share your experience. All right, let's go to the next slide here. All right, just a quick overview of MVP Office Hours. This is really, it's put on by MVPs. We have MVPs on the call, but certainly it doesn't matter if you're an MVP or not. At the end of the day, right, this is just a way for people to come ask questions, and all of us try to rally around that question and help out. So everyone's encouraged to share your experience, input, recommendations, all of that. All we ask is, because it's an open webinar call, just mute yourself so we can easily hear the questions and the answers. If you have a question, we'll either ask for people to speak up, or you can just raise your hand in the chat, or as a couple of you have already done who have been here before, you can just post into the chat, and then we'll kind of get them as we go. And then we can certainly see your names, as they come up within the meeting, but helpful to just announce yourself as you're going if we forget to look. The chat is also used to post resources and links. So if you have something you found helpful and you want to share, post those, because I'm going to record those here in this deck and share that out afterwards. And then if we get down to it, we are not afraid to give you control and let you share your screen if you want to show us a process or a flow or whatever it may be. And that way we can help you out even better. Let's see, do I have anything? Yeah. And then lastly, right, just, if you didn't know, MVP Office Hours has a site. You can go to mvpofficehours.info. I'll just open that up here. Of course, it didn't work. Oh, there it goes. All right, so this site here, right, gives you everything you need to know about MVP Office Hours. It's actually hosted on a community, so you can see we've got our US group. We've got our EMEA team here. I know Carlos is on. We've got Portuguese. We've got students, and then APAC is coming soon down the pipe. The other thing you could do here is subscribe. So we send out emails so that you can just get notifications of when sessions coming up. So if you don't want to just record this link here and bookmark it because it's the same for all sessions, you can subscribe just by clicking this button. And of course, that my internet's being slow. You can see here that just give us your email, tell us which group you want to subscribe to, and then, just from a consent standpoint, we just want you to verify that you're giving us consent, and then we'll send you an email each time letting you know that that session registration is open. You can go in and register, and then at any time you can reply back and unsubscribe if you'd like, and we'll remove you from that list. So all that being said, let's get this office hours underway. So I know, Pat, you were quick to the punch there. I'm just going to exit out of presenter mode here so we can start going. So you had questions on campaigns.
Yeah, on campaign. So looking at campaign object, if you start a new campaign, let's say you wanted to create a campaign, add your members to it, no problem with all of that. But let's say you want it to be an email campaign. Where do I actually put the email content, and is that something that I have to link to campaigns from somewhere else? Where do I actually do the activity?
Anybody on the line want to take that? I can chime in if not.
Stuart said he might be able to help with that.
All right, so say the question again to me. Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, I've been through the trailhead on campaign, and I understand everything they explain. I understand that campaign is used to track activities and be able to understand the effectiveness of all of that. But when I go to the campaign record and create a campaign record, I can't figure out where to actually. Let's say that I wanted to create a new campaign that's an email blast out to everybody that's on my campaign, all the campaign members. I can't figure out where to actually specify the email template and specify when I want it to go and do all of that. Where to actually do something? or is campaign more just for tracking and you got to do it elsewhere and link to the campaign?
Yeah, so we just use it for tracking, for who is invited to that campaign and what are the results of that campaign.
So where do you do the actual inviting?
So I'll give you real life examples because at our org, we are a public media station, public television station. And so we do campaigns like for major donors. We want to invite major donors to an event. We're going to host an event where we're going to do a new program on, we did one on the Vietnam War. We created content around the Vietnam War and we invited major donors to come and watch it. So that's an event that, we host that event. It's a live physical thing that we host, so we actually send out postcards and do telephone calls and send out emails to these people. How we contact them is a multi-channel way. But that list of who we're going to invite is probably less than 1,000 people. And we will use Salesforce to generate that list of who we're going to invite. That becomes the campaign members. And so that list goes into the Vietnam movie campaign, or the major donor Vietnam campaign, or whatever you're going to call it.
Okay.
And so that becomes the campaign, and the campaign members are the 1,000 people that we're going to invite, and they start out with a status of invited or sent. And as they return those postcards or calls or emails, then their status in that campaign membership becomes a different status of either, a status of yes, no, maybe, or whatever. And then as they attend, then their status becomes attended. And how all that happens is not necessarily within Salesforce. You can build, an event application and have that link to Salesforce to update those campaign member fields. We don't do that because we just do it all after the fact. Of the major donor officer goes in and changes those status after the fact. But then the results of that campaign is in the form of dollars, of who of those people invited to that event gave money to that campaign to fund this project of making this movie. And those donations, those giving opportunities, are also linked to the campaign. And so we can track the contacts that came or didn't come as campaign members, and then the giving opportunities as the donations that came into that campaign, and how much money or revenue resulted of that campaign.
Got it. Okay.
Now,
So
all that work happens outside of Salesforce. The tracking of it happens in Salesforce.
all right. So you kind of confirmed what I've evolved my thinking to be, is that campaigns is really about tracking it, not about doing it, not about executing the campaign.
Correct.
You could build a sites. I mean, you could build a sites application that does all that, and but we don't. You don't have to.
Okay.
Chris pointed this out in the chat, and I was thinking the same thing. If you have Pardot or or Salesforce Engage or something like that, that's going to tie into those campaigns, and it'll feed back and forth with you'll get information about who responded and what. I don't really do a whole lot with Pardot. Occasionally, I'll have to work with there's a pre-built analytics app for it. So you could also, and I would not recommend this, you could maybe create a process builder that says when campaign members are created, look at their contact, and if do not contact is false, then send this workflow email. But the problem with that is unless these are really small campaigns, you're just going to crush your governor limits, and these are going to bomb out on you after probably they might be able to handle a couple hundred, but if you're talking 1,000 people, I would not recommend trying to use Process Builder or Flow to send emails on the create of a campaign member record. But if it's small batches, you might be able to look into something like that. Otherwise, to Chris's point, I would say you're going to need something like Pardot or something externally that's going to sync up with those campaign members and say, who responded, how did they respond, and actually send out those email blasts. You might also be able to use MailChimp.
Got it. Well, actually, yeah. So I was using email just as an example. I'm an App Exchange partner, and I'm building the app I've got on there now is a SMS texting tool for one-to-one communications. And right now I'm building the bulk tool for doing marketing blasts. And so I'm trying to understand. I don't want to duplicate anything that's already there. I want to use as much of integrate as cleanly as I can with everything that already exists. So I don't want to duplicate Campaign, particularly since Campaign's got good reporting and all of that stuff integrated, and it connects to Pardot. They've got the Campaign connector deal that allows it to interact with Pardot pretty well. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly which part of this am I building separate. I don't, for example, I was initially, as I was thinking about it, I was setting it up to send this text blast, and basically I was duplicating as a recipient, creating a recipient record for every campaign member record. Well, if you've got a campaign that's got 25,000 records or so, that's a lot of redundancy, and I'm trying to make sure that I keep the schema as clean as possible. So.
Just to make sure that there's no confusion for other people listening, when you talk about Pardot, Pardot uses the term campaign.
Oh yeah.
Salesforce uses the term campaign.
Yeah,
those two definitions are completely and separately different. They do not connect to each other. So if people are listening thinking, oh, I can connect my Pardot campaign to my Salesforce campaign, no, those are completely different terms and used differently.
Yeah, Pardot list is more like a Salesforce campaign, and Pardot campaign is more like the lead source. So, yeah, but thanks for the distinction there. I'm up on that. I've been through all of the trailheads on both Pardot and on campaigns, but it seemed like that last step of actually executing the email campaign or my Proton blast, the text blast is missing from that, and so I'm now understanding that that's not really what it's intended for. It's really for tracking. It's not for executing. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. That was great. All right, let's go to Jade here on Process Builder question. So, Jade, do you want to just state your question for everybody? I can read it here, but.
So I can't seem to find contacts in my field reference in Process Builder, in my Trailhead or my dev org. But I was watching this video that someone else was doing, and they did have contacts in there. So I don't know what I'm missing.
You're trying to select the standard related contacts?
Yes.
Do you have a screenshot or something you can share with us?
Yeah, I do. I'll just post it.
I have a quick question. Are you happen to be on NPSP at all?
No, I'm not using NTSP.
Jade, which is your process builder looking at the opportunity then? Is that the object that your process is trying to affect?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
it's looking at it.
Yeah, that might be the problem because Process Builder can only look at one object at a time unless you have a contact that's related to opportunities through some kind of relationship, either a master detail or it's like a related list on one of the objects. So it's not going to see contact unless you've already connected a contact to an opportunity. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because out of the box, opportunities are, like Pat said, opportunities are only linked to accounts.
Yeah. Do you have a custom field, or maybe the person that you saw do this, maybe they added a custom field for contact on the opportunity?
Yeah, they probably created a relationship between contacts and opportunities through some kind of relationship field, like a lookup or a master detail.
Oh, yep. Yeah. Looking at your screenshot, that's what it looks like. Yeah, because you're not going to see, as Christy, I think it's Christy. Yeah, you're not going to see related lists in there. You'll just see what lookup or master detail fields are on the opportunity, and that's where like the account ID, campaign, and then that video screenshot you shared shows contact because they created a lookup field to contact directly. That's completely custom.
Okay, maybe I should explain what the video was trying to do. So the video was trying to show that when an opportunity is closed won, then a task is created, using Process Builder, and in the name ID field would be the contact, right? So like for a task, you have like the subject, you have the, I don't know, whatever different fields you have.
Yeah.
But when I created my task, I couldn't put in the contact name.
Right, and you won't be unless you're able to add a field to the opportunity that's contact.
Okay.
Yeah, which you could do it. You could do it as easy as just creating that lookup on the opportunity to the contact record, and you could even, if you wanted to, automatically set that based upon contact roles on the opportunity, or you could certainly set it manually. But then you would just use that field.
Right, or you can put the account ID in the what ID. And that way it would log the activity on the account record, but not on, it won't be on an individual contact.
Okay. I guess I'll try that then.
Yeah, is it important to be able to relate an opportunity to a specific person?
Well, I was trying to create a task, and I thought the task should be assigned to a person.
So, okay, are you trying to assign it to a user within the org, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's not contact. That's user.
Yeah. What user are you trying to assign it to? Like the opportunity owner?
No, not the opportunity owner, just another user.
So if that user is related to that record, then you can look them up as a record, as a related field, and as a field in that record. If you want it just to go to, the sales manager or somebody that's not specifically tied to that record, then you're just going to have to input, hard code it in, which is not ideal. But it would work. I mean, if you hard code in the ID of the sales manager, it will get posted to their, they'll see it in the activity feed.
Yeah, I think like you said, Pat. Yeah, the hard coding is certainly not ideal. As Carlos posted in the chat, I'd recommend just creating a lookup to user for that specific use case, right? To set who that user needs to be at the record level, and then just let Process Builder pick up that user on who to assign the task to. And then if you wanted to, right, if that user's maybe dynamic, Pat mentioned the sales manager, right? If it's the sales manager of the user, then you could set that automatically based upon who the opportunity owner is, or whatever other criteria you have, so that it's not, manual in that sense.
Yeah. So either it's a field that's already on that record, or a related list, or you can add a custom object, a custom field on there for, the user, like Carlos says, a user lookup that who should be notified, or something like that.
Okay, thank you. I'll try that.
Absolutely. All right, let me go back through here. Let's see. All right, now Chris, you have your hand raised. Thanks for waiting.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, everyone. So I've been customizing the Home tab in Lightning for particular profiles. So I've got a particular sales profile. So when my sales users go to their Home tab, they're seeing that page related to them. Like they've got custom list views for my open opportunities, my opportunities closing this month, et cetera, et cetera. One of the requests was to add additional things like their pipeline forecast, dollars that they've closed this year. And I'm trying to understand how I can do this outside of list views. I just don't want to build a bunch of list views. I'm looking and trying to envision something like the dashboard components, right? You've got the metric number that would populate, and exploring that page. It looks like you can drag over charts, but it just looks more like bar charts. So I guess my question, or looking for suggestions, is there some type of component that would be more graphical to pull that data in outside of like list views and bar charts.
So you're heading the right direction with the dashboard, but you're just saying that it's just not a very attractive dashboard?
Well, I'm just looking for certain elements or pieces of that dashboard. For instance, we've got a dashboard where it just shows the total pipeline number in red. It's just a metric chart component or display. I'm looking to just add those pieces to the home page versus one huge big snapshot of that entire dashboard.
Yeah, there are I forget what they call them, but you can easily create a quote report that's a number that's just a single metric like that. I forget what they call them.
And just have that report displayed on that page.
Oh, you don't even have to have the report. You could probably have a link to the report, but if you just want the number of opportunities in the pipeline or the some big milestone or key performance indicator, well, a KPI showing up there, you can create that. I haven't done it in a while, but
yeah,
I remember there was a Trailhead, one of the Trailhead modules on it.
Okay.
What? Yeah, and if you just want to show the metric, just put that as the only component on your dashboard.
Yeah. Okay. So build out the report. I do have the metric on that dashboard. Oh, are you saying just to have a single dashboard with that metric component and then reference it in that homepage?
Right.
Okay, I follow you. I'll try that. It might be, building a bunch of them, but it might display nicer for the sales team.
Well, also,
yeah,
if,
you can
if
make each.
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors, go. I was gonna say, like, if you're happy, like, oh, okay, I can get this dashboard on here, but I really only need like a third of the dashboard.
Correct.
Why don't you clone it, delete the 2/3 that you don't need, and have a miniature version of the dashboard, and then just put that on there?
Oh, yeah, that's another good idea. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Sweet.
Great, thank you guys.
All right, Jen, you have your hand raised. Appreciate your patience. Jen, did you have a question?
Can you hear me? I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. So my question was actually more of a strategy question. So my dilemma is that I have clients that are so we work with brokers and then we partner with them and we have subset of clients under them, but then these brokers can also be our clients. How would you represent that in like an account structure, or do I need a junction object to identify them accordingly? Because I'm having a hard time, like I can't put them as a record type broker because then they're also clients. Hello?
Yeah, we heard. We're all thinking.
Okay.
So
Okay, sorry.
You got brokers that are sometimes customers and sometimes partners.
Yeah. Yeah, so they could be that we have customers that are just customers, we have, but then we have a certain subset that are all three of the record types that we have.
So what problem are you trying to solve?
Well, how would I represent?
Why not use parent and child accounts? You have a parent account that represents this is the person that has, or this is the business that has all three of these values, and then a child record of each of your three record types.
Yeah, along those same lines, you could do record type of broker and client, and record type of just client. Some sort of other identifier on that contact object.
Yeah, because now also for these these different record types of for these different record types, I'm assuming that you're using record type to leverage the different page layouts that you're going to need to see with these accounts. So, I mean, first, if you're not, if you don't have logic that's running off record type, or if you don't have variants of page layouts, I would just, and I bet you Steve Mo's his ears are going to burn when I say this. Create a multi-select on the account to determine which relationships they have. I try to stay away from multi-selects, but for something simple like this, it could work. If you need different page layouts for each, well, what about the use case where someone is both a broker and a customer? Which page layout do you want to see? And if the answer is, well, when I'm thinking about them as a broker, I need to see the broker layout. When I'm thinking about them as a customer, I need to see the customer layout. Then I would say, well, you really need one account for each of those relationships. And if you want to tie them together through the parent account field and have like a holding account that sits above that, you can go for that. You also need to decide for everybody that only fits into one of these buckets, are you going to use that parent account field at all? And are you always going to have them in a one-to-one relationship, or do you only want to use it from the approach of when somebody represents both? I don't think a
But
junction
where
object
would you put contacts? Contacts, would you then create multiple contacts?
Why you could relate the contacts to the parent account, unless it's like, okay, well, this contact is only involved in the broker relationship, so we'll associate them to the broker account. This contact is associated with my customer relationship, so I associate that to the customer account. Or this guy is the CEO and handles both of these, I would associate him to the parent account.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Christy, I have a question here in the chat. You have purposeful duplicates in an org, so when you run an event campaign, a third-party event management app has trouble finding the correct contact record. Is there a way to embed on the form a unique identifier, like the 18-digit contact ID or even the campaign member ID?
I was even thinking about it as we were going through the other questions. Maybe and I thought maybe a possible answer was, because I was thinking that you had to embed something on a form, but perhaps I could pass that information via the URL.
Can you explain the purposeful duplicates?
No, because there's not real logic of why we have them, but they're there. There's the reality of the thing.
Well, when you
let me put it this way. I think isn't it possible, Jared, that you can pass information from a record using the URL and the system that's sending the email, right? And then I just got to figure out a way to put that number back into the form itself.
Yeah, certainly depending upon what are you using for you're talking passing it within it depends on the event management tool, but yeah, there are ways, right, to pass things with URL parameters. If that tool allows it, you could automatically pass that in just via the URL to make that essentially a unique URL for that specific contact.
Yeah, because right now what we have it triggered to do is to match on last name and email as the combo, and it's just not unique enough. So that's why I was thinking there might be a way to pass something innately from the record itself, right?
Yeah.
If we could step back again to the question asked earlier about the duplicate contacts that are intentional, perhaps some of the intentionality can be addressed using a related object to the contact, because while we might solve this one problem, you can run into additional problems without email opt-out. There's just a lot of risk when you have a contact in there a couple of times.
Yeah, but each contact record will have its own email opt-out associated with it. So, I mean, if you're using passing IDs, it'll be direct, right? And it'll keep the email opt-out information will not disappear.
But if you ever got stuck in a GDPR sort of situation where Amy Smith wants to have no more communication from your organization and says, please discontinue emailing to me, if you have 12 of her in your database, don't you have a problem? I mean, at some point in time, Amy Smith says, stop emailing me.
No, right. Remember, all the contact
12.
addresses are tied to email addresses. So any email opt-out for an email address will be automatically. So there's no problem with email opt-out follow through on the duplicates because it's all tracked by email address, remember? So they'll be opted out. There's no problem. Does that make sense?
No. Do you have duplicate contacts that have
With the same email addresses.
with the same email?
sometimes.
Yeah, then there's
Okay.
still a
That's the
problem.
point.
That's still a problem because if you mark one of them as email opt-out and the other one is not marked,
No, automatically they're marked because
how are they
That's-
automatically marked?
what's opted out is the email address, not the record. Does that make sense? So the system's smart enough to tell every email address instance that's opted out. So there's no problem with that.
Are you tracking the email opt-outs in an object other than contact?
It's in contact, but that checkbox, because this is going away from my original question. I mean, I have no problem with email opt-outs. It's the finding event management and having member statuses flow back down to the right contact is the problem.
Okay, so is the event management app accessing the campaign members? What record is that acting? Or is it just going in and looking for contacts with an email address and a last name?
Contacts.
It's going straight into contacts. Okay.
I think it does. I think it does have quite a relation to other question because it's about what is your unique identifier for a contact. So, is it email address? Is it contact ID? Is it first, middle, last name, and address? So you have to define first of all what is the unique identifier for a contact in order for an external system to know that this is the right Amy Smith and that's not the right Amy Smith. Any system has to know this is how I define and the data dictionary around what a contact is.
Okay, now you've said that is my problem. That is what I was trying to say. That is the problem, and I'm trying to find a unique identifier by passing the Salesforce ID or the campaign member ID, because that is unique. Does that make sense now? I'm trying to figure out how to do that part. I know I have the problem that it's not unique. So the way I was going to solve it is to try to pass this either 18-digit contact ID because that is unique, or the campaign member ID.
Well,
That's what I need to, what I need to drill down is to find out for my event management app, I think they're looking at contact. So I have to pass something from the contact record itself that's unique.
yeah.
As long as you never plan on doing any sort of deduping or merging, that the Salesforce contact ID would be fine. But if you ever plan on instituting some sort of a deduping tool from the App Exchange, then you can't really depend on that anymore because you could end up losing that ID since you have multiple contacts.
Right. I guess I'm trying to find a dynamic solution, but perhaps it doesn't exist.
Well, unless it's pulling it on demand, right? If you're
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Per campaign. But then again, then I was thinking about it further. If I ran a campaign with the same contact within a matter of days, which could be a reality, then this whole thing is not going to work anyway, right?
I think that the purposeful duplicates in an org is really complicates it. I would challenge you to go back to your policy and rules around that decision and see if that's truly what you want. Because that maybe have ramifications down the road that you don't expect.
Totally. Okay, so sounds like I think there is some hope, though. I'm gonna explore that idea of the contact ID pass.
Yeah, and as Susan mentioned, right, you may look at, potentially another unique external ID.
That's the other idea. I was
as
thinking
well.
of creating
but-
a temporary ID,
but-
like an auto number field that then I can pass.
But
And
conceptually,
it will
what you're,
disappear after the campaign's done. I zero it out.
yeah, you're just talking basically about a junction object there, which is what campaign member is. But
No,
When-
not a junction object. I don't want an object. I want a field on the contact record. It's not going to look at another object. It'll look at the contact.
so you're saying you've got two records for Amy Smith, and they'll have a different identifier.
They do.
So they're duplicated in every way except this one field you're talking about adding?
Well, they're different also because they have two separate, unique Salesforce 18-digit contact IDs.
Right. I'm lost on why you would need a duplicate record. That seems to be the source issue here.
Right. Okay, but maybe getting back to this seed of an idea is if I had an auto create. Well, no, let me see. There's no way to wipe it out after the install.
So
And
Anyway.
auto numbers don't retroactively populate. I think everybody is going to keep telling you the real core is you have to do something about the duplicates. Because
Yeah, I know.
furthermore,
Yeah.
how is this external system going to know which one to pick? How does it get the ID in the first place? And if you add Amy Smith on Monday, how do you know that on Tuesday you're not going to pick the wrong Amy Smith? And
Right.
all understand why is it that there are two Amy Smiths and resolve it so that that you don't need two contact records to do it. Because really one person, one record. That's the object. It's supposed to represent a physical human. And since there's only one of each of us, there should only be one of each of the records.
Yeah.
You're going to run into many, many problems if you keep this as duplicates.
Yeah.
And
I
yes, we can work around it and solve
it
it
might-
for this issue, but just because you can do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
This is true. This is very true.
Yeah, like with each new workaround, you're increasing the overall technical debt. And sooner or later, you are going to have to go back and solve the core problem. And then once you do, not only have you invested all the time and the effort into building these workarounds, but you then have to dismantle them.
Yeah.
No, you got a point. You got a point there. Okay. All right. Just wanted to see if there was anything out of the box to do, but I think I know. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Tricky stuff for sure. Right. Let's see. Okay, we've got about 13 minutes left. Who else has a question? Or anything within this latest release that they want to, that they're excited about or want to share with the audience?
For those of you that are struggling with the new Flow Builder, I got a couple of keyboard shortcuts and tips that might be helpful. One, everybody really hates that you have to click into pan mode to move the canvas around, and then you start clicking on your elements and you're wondering why it's not working. You have to toggle pan mode back off, and it's just a real pain. You can actually hold space to temporarily toggle that. So you can hold down space, click and drag, and then when you let go of space, you're still in edit mode. Really helpful shortcut there.
That's a good one. Thank you.
And then HTML tags are fully supported. in your display stuff. So back in the day, we could switch to rich text editing mode. We can't do that anymore, but you can still have that functionality. So one thing that you can do to figure out what the tags are is go look at some old flow that you built on the old designer, and any display text that you have is going to have all of this crazy formatting on it for kerning and this, that, and the other to try and support the old legacy fonts if you know, to have a more consistent experience. So you can use that as kind of a cheat sheet of some of the tags that you can use. Or you just, you know, Google HTML tags. So if you want giant red text, you just put in a tag that says size equals 5 and color equals red. And that's pretty good for that. And what was the other? I had one more new dirty trick for the new flow builder that I figured out. Oh, this is actually a post that Shannon Hale from Salesforce put on the unofficial flow blog, which is, I forget the URL for it, but if you search for unofficial flow, it's Alex Edelstein and Shannon Hale and a bunch of other people, Jennifer Lee, have been contributing to this. And there's a lot of really cool Lightning components and stuff that you can drop in, and tips and tricks for the new builder. And one of them was, you know, what if you already built something in the new flow builder and you're just like, I hate this, I need it to go back to the old way. How do I edit these flows that I've created in the new builder now that I've switched back to the old builder? Well, first, to get to the old builder again, to turn the old builder back on, you go to setup, go to your process automation settings, and there's a checkbox that's now automatically checked that says disable Cloudflow Designer. So all you do is you uncheck that box and it's going to restore the old flow builder. But what this doesn't get you is you can't open any dashboards or any flows that were built in the new designer. So you open a flow, you know, or create a new one or whatever, get into the editor, and then you just URL hack. You're going to look in the URL for where it says 301, and that's going to be the record ID of the flow. And you're going to replace that with the one that's built in the new designer that you're trying to edit, and it should open it up just fine. That said, this is not officially supported, so maybe clone your flow first so you have a backup, you know, and because you know, you don't want your stuff breaking. But if you absolutely do need to switch back and forth, you can do that. So I actually did this recently because I had this flow where I needed to clone out an entire section of like 20 nodes, and I didn't want to do it manually one by one. So I just flipped back to the old designer, I did my clone, and then I turned the new designer back on. So hopefully these tips help.
Cool.
Yeah, that new designer looks so much nicer.
It does until you try to line up a few things. There are no sort of align or distribute or any of the sort of typical you know, graphic diagramming tools you would hope for. Yeah.
Like a snap to grid?
Yeah, a snap to grid, or a line up or whatever. In fact, you can get things lined up where the you know, you get a straight line. It's not, you know, it's not you know, a pixel or two off, and then you scale the thing and then it's off. So,
yeah. Oh, another tip. If back in the old day, we could click and drag to highlight multiple nodes and move them all at once.
yeah.
What we can do now is shift click multiple nodes to like add them to the selection to move multiple nodes at once. I find as soon as you start going over 5 or 6, it starts lagging up on you really, really bad. But I torture tested it and I was able to select 50 nodes, and I basically went and got a cup of coffee, and when I came back, then it and my CPU fan throttled down and I was able to move the nodes.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Stuart.
Oh, hey, Stuart. Nice to meet you.
Can I, whenever it's my turn, I'll talk.
It's your turn. Go for it.
Okay. Hi. So I'd like to give a kudos. I'm an admin, but I'm learning to be a developer. And I secretly snuck into the Twin Cities developer user group meeting the other night. And they had Kevin Poorman, I believe that's his last name, from the developer team at Salesforce come and talk about Lightning. Lightning Web Components. I think that's what it's called, LWC. And what he did was really cool. He walked the group through the recipes example site that is on GitHub that's available for anyone that wants to put it together. And oh gosh, if I tried to put it together myself, I probably would fail miserably, but someday I will. It'll be awesome. And he walked us through the HTML and JavaScript behind those components, and how the JavaScript can call directly to Apex classes, and it's really cool. And my cheeks are, you may not hear it in the call, but my cheeks are expanding as I talk about it. It's turning me into a developer. And so I think someday I'm gonna probably do a session on how an admin can become a developer. Maybe that's what I'll do. It's really neat. So even if you're totally scared of coding, the LWC stuff is really cool, and the examples are neat, and I'm just really excited about what Salesforce is doing there. And so I'm throwing it out there as a kudo, as something I'm really excited about.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. And then just to kind of follow up what's in the chat, Bill, you had a question on moving an if statement. It looks like from Google Sheet into an object in Salesforce.
Let's see. Yes, that is correct. And if necessary, I can do the screen share. I've created, probably maybe a dozen different columns of the different fields that I anticipate that I would need. Be it what the pair is, whether I'm buying or selling, and that's more of direction. Like if I buy, then enter at, let's say, 1, and then I would sell at 3 with a profit of 2, and then I would calculate that difference. But then if it's a sell, then I would sell at 3, buy at 1, and then also profit the difference of 2, because again, buy and sell is based on direction. And then I'm just looking to map how that would work. So the condition is when I create the buy, then I would be taking the exit price minus the entry price, and then to flip it, if I sell, I would be taking the entry price minus the exit price, if that makes sense. So, and I'm just wondering how to go about doing that and mapping. Just because I'm a little, I'm not, ultra confident in formulas.
I think Squire's got it covered there in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at that.
Okay.
One thing to watch out for is the field that determines buy versus sell a pick list. If it is, just wrap the field name in the text function. Otherwise, you'll get unsupported formula operator. This is a pick list field. You can't just do that thing. You can also use isPickVal, which takes the field name and then the value. But I like the text function. It works just fine for me.
Okay. All right. I will definitely look over after the call and re-listen to all of this and look at the links that you've provided. Thank you.
Yep. And then one more tip for the formula editor. If you scroll through the list of functions, it'll actually show the syntax very similarly to how, like in Excel, it'll tell you what the syntax is. And the bulk of Salesforce formulas in the standard formula editor use a very Excel-like syntax. Sometimes it's a little bit different, like rounding, like we use ceiling and floor functions. There's a few differences, but it's very Excel-like. And if you're comfortable with Excel formulas, especially if uses the exact same syntax, then you've already got a great foundation for the formula editor. I would check out the trailhead there's a trailhead for Salesforce formulas and validation rules as well. I forget what it's called, but just on trailhead, look for formula functions.
Okay. And then something similar. Most of the currency pairs after the decimal point have 5 digits. However, if the Japanese yen is included, that is only a 2-digit following the currency pair. And I'm guessing something similar where I could be able to edit so I wouldn't have extra zeros.
The format in which the precision of a field is determined at the field level. So you couldn't say that, if this field over here equals, Japanese currency, then give me this many decimals, else give me that many decimals. You could use different record types and use different page layouts and for different fields. But unless you want to get into like enabling multi-currency in your org or something like that, I think the easiest answer is to just ignore the extraneous zeros.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I thought if there was a quick edit there, then I would go ahead and do that. But okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, so we are just right about at time here. So I'm gonna record some of these pieces into our sheet here. Appreciate everybody dropping those in for me. And
Thanks, Jared. Have a great weekend.
Appreciate everybody sharing their knowledge, all the great questions, joining the office hours, and we will see you on the next one.
Cheers.